going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to the Mac and Fish podcast. I'm Coach McKinley Roll. I'm here with my co-host, Charles Fishbein, better known as Fish. Fish, what's going on?
Doing great.
All right. Well, today we got a great show. A great coach on today. Talk a little bit about junior college football and his background. A man I was fortunate to work for. A little bit about Coach Jeff Sims. Coach Sims, got his head coaching start at Mesabi, as far as the collegiate level, at Mesabi College, where he had a great success there. Went to Fort Scott, where he was able to coach Jason Pierre-Paul and Levante David. Actually took Fort Scott to a national championship game. Then we went to Garden City. Coach had, at one time, he was the winningest coach in junior college at the time. Took Garden City to a national championship in 2018. Again, I was fortunate to be on that coaching staff with him, and currently he's the head coach at Missouri Southern, and he's turning around that program. This is a great coach, a great mentor to me. Fish, you can kind of talk about how Coach Sims and a little bit of his background as well.
Now, I could be wrong, but the first time I met Coach Sims, I believe, was at FAU under Coach Pelini. It's been a while, so most of these coaches, it seems like I've known them for like a lifetime, but it's been probably over a decade now that I've known Coach Sims. And also, I believe when he was at University of Indiana, worked with him, helped. They had my service when he was at FAU, and some of the prospects we put him on did a very good job. But the one thing I always remember about Coach Sims especially is his connection to the junior colleges and how many of those players joined him when he went to an Indiana or a FAU especially. But he's done a great job at the junior college level. He's definitely one of the top coaches to ever coach at that level. And now it's going to be very interesting to see how he does at Missouri Southern and everything. And I'm looking forward to watching his future continue to grow.
Well, Coach is another thing. He's had 51 guys that have gone from the college level to the pros. And this is the total development. I was able to see it firsthand, how he's able to transition these guys, as far as being complete student athletes and develop them totally. I have so much respect for this man. He probably doesn't even know. But, Coach, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me. And look, McKinley, I have a lot of respect for you. A guy come out to Garden City and put in the work that we require. There ain't a lot to do out there but work. So I appreciate all the work you did. And Fish, I really enjoyed my time down at Florida Atlantic, and we did meet down there. And I respect, what you do helping, guys get opportunities. And there's a lot of people out there that help people, get to schools and stuff. But there's definitely different levels of ability at doing it and quality of doing it. And you're definitely, maybe the top in Florida. So I appreciate everything you guys do. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. Coach, just kind of give me your thoughts on junior college overall. We've talked about it many times, but just, for our listeners, give your thoughts on that.
Well, for me, it's kind of a good and bad. And what I mean by good and bad is I actually really believe that junior college might be the most impactful level of football on all levels of football. I think at that level, you can change people's lives more than any other level. High school coaches do a tremendous job, but there's parents involved. When you get to junior college, it's usually these guys are there for one of three reasons. The three reasons are you weren't good enough. And I think in one thing that we've had success is we try to coach in honesty. We try to live in reality. Okay. And why did you end up at junior college? Because you weren't good enough. Now, it doesn't mean you didn't play well, and it doesn't mean you didn't do well. It means you weren't good enough to attract the scholarship you wanted. You might have gotten scholarship offers, but you didn't get the one you wanted. So you go to junior college and you try to prove yourself. A great example of that for me would be a guy named Trey Mentor. Trey was the state's leading rusher in Georgia, led the entire state of Georgia in rushing, but was at a smaller school and was a really good, hardworking guy, but people thought he was a little too short and a little too slow. So we brought him to junior college, and when he'd come to junior college and you're a running back, we might have 25 running backs. And he came there with 25 guys, and every single day he busted his tail. And he outworked the other 24 guys. He ended up becoming our starting tailback, and he ended up becoming an All-American for us. And then he got a Division I scholarship. He was offered one Division I scholarship. He went to South Alabama, and he has been a star at South Alabama the last 2 years. He wasn't good enough, and then he proved it at our level, and he got that opportunity. That's one way guys get there. The second way guys get there is academically non-qualifiers. All right, so you're good enough to play Division I football. You have all the talent in the world, but if I don't know who listens to your podcast, if it's coaches, if it's players, if it's parents, but I'm just telling you, when I was a player, I thought coaches said, oh, you got to do good in school because that was just what they're supposed to say. Listen, you need to take care of your education, because I've seen so many great players fail because they didn't handle their education, and it limited their opportunities. So the guys that took care of their schoolwork get to go to places that they can continue to develop and become great players. And the talented guys who don't have the academics, they fail. So academic non-qualifiers would come to us, and our job was to get them qualified. A lot of them were extremely talented. They did not need a football coach. They needed academic coach. They needed a life coach. And the definition of coach is someone who can take you where you can't take yourself. They could do the football things, but they needed someone to take them where they needed to be academically. A great example of that would be Lonnie Johnson, who plays for the Houston Texans. Lonnie Johnson, out of high school, could have went to Ohio State. Then he didn't qualify. Then he went to a junior college and flunked every class there. And then we got him to Garden City, and we got him lined out. And he's went on and was a star at Kentucky, and now he's in the NFL. The third type, and this is a controversial type, but for me, I call them guys who had a bad night. And there are bad people that end up in junior college, but in our program, we felt like they were people that had a bad night. Now, what I mean by that is this: is we all make mistakes. I don't know Fish when he was 18. But when I was 18, I made mistakes. Okay. The blessing was there was no cell phones, there was no Google. All right. Now, when you make a mistake, it's videotaped, it's all over the internet, and then you can't even shake it. It's there for years. Now, how do you know the difference between guys who had a bad night and guys that are bad people? Well, the work ethic that we require. We worked guys. There's no 20-hour rule in junior college. So we're working guys all day, every day, trying to keep them busy. And we used to say that the first 2 weeks we get rid of the dope smokers, the second 2 weeks we get rid of the lazy kids, and then you have kids there that made a mistake. They punched somebody, they made a poor decision in high school. Now, why I think junior college is so awesome is because you can go rectify your mistake. I was a bad student. I made a poor decision, or I didn't perform at the level, or have to prove that I'm better than I am. Now you get to go to junior college and you can prove yourself. That's the good. The bad is I sincerely don't believe that it's valued very much. I don't think that a lot of people care about that level of football. I don't think people care about the kids that are at that level. A lot of the kids that end up in junior college come from schools that didn't have the structure and environment. They come from families that didn't have the structure and environment. And I think junior college is such a great thing, because if you don't make it out of high school, some of us don't mature till later. So those 2 years, we can really turn a lot of kids around. I wish junior college would grow. If I ever became a big-time coach or won the stock market, I promise you that I would invest in create junior college programs. And, and I also would think it would be better if junior college programs were in cities versus being in all the small towns. I think it would benefit kids. I think California has the best structure overall, but they don't have money. California is the best place to go to junior college if you live there. If you don't live there, it's terrible to go there. And then the other states have scholarships and stuff. So, obviously I care about junior college. That's why I can speak pretty fluently on it.
Coach, one of the questions, you talk about junior college and you brought up all the different, situations why guys go, but there's also one other group, and you were at Indiana, you were in the Big Ten. A lot of those schools don't take JUCO kids, but there is one exception, and that is guys that were academically qualified out of high school that decide to go the junior college route. That this is an option for a lot of guys that are probably not ready yet for college, Division I football, but it is an option to help them get better, even if it is for only a year.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, that's what the first group. You're not good enough. You're just not. You're not ready yet. And that's the thing, is where you say that is, everybody who goes to junior college isn't a bad person, and every guy who goes to junior college isn't a bad student. But so Fish, let's say my dream was to play at Florida State. Okay, well, Miko Dotson, all right, wanted to play at that type of school. Out of high school, he was offered by some smaller Division I's. Just before signing date, Georgia Tech came in and offered him. He never visited Georgia Tech. He had never been there. But everybody around him said, you need to go to Georgia Tech. This is a tremendous opportunity. And it is a great university. But he went there, and he did not feel that was his place. He didn't connect with the coaches. He didn't feel it was his place. So he left Georgia Tech and came and played for us, got academically right, got everything in order, played well, brought out attention. He was able to go to Florida Atlantic, did great at Florida Atlantic, graduated from college early, got to go to Florida State. That's the first group. When I say you're not good enough, it doesn't mean you're bad. It means you're not good enough for what you wanted. All right. So if the school you wanted wasn't there, another great player, the Miami Dolphins have Brandon Bryant right now. And Brandon played for me. In high school, he was an all-state middle linebacker, 6'2", 250-pound middle linebacker. But he wasn't fluid enough or fast enough to play Division I football as a middle linebacker. So I took him at a junior college as a D tackle. And then after going there, he got a Division I scholarship to Florida Atlantic and was a great player there. It's been in the NFL, those types of things. Fish, one thing that really helped me was I was in junior college. Then I went to Indiana, Florida Atlantic, and then I went back to junior college. Being in those meetings with the Indiana coaches and the Florida Atlantic coaches really gave me a perspective on why some kids get picked, why other kids don't get picked. I would tell you that, all right, if you look at a Division I staff, you have 25 scholarships a year, all right? We have 10 assistant coaches. So basically each coach has 2 scholarships a year, but the O-line coach is going to probably take 3, all right? So you got 1 to 2 scholarships a year as an assistant coach. Well, if you're the wide receiver coach, if you only have 1 or 2 scholarships a year, are you going to take a risk on somebody? A guy named Hakeem Butler, who played at Iowa State. I really, really wanted him when I was at Indiana. A guy named Steve Smith, who played at Northern Illinois. I really wanted him. Sutton Smith. I really, really wanted him out of high school. Well, both of them ended up being NFL football players, but we didn't go on them at Indiana. And the reason was Hakeem played wide receiver in high school. And I thought he could be a defensive end, but the defensive end coach wouldn't take him because he'd never seen him on film playing defensive end. Didn't want to take that risk on him. Sutton Smith ended up being a great defensive end in college. And in high school, he was a running back. Well, the running back coaches didn't like him because they didn't think he was a good enough running back. Nobody could figure out what position he would play. And because those coaches have so limited scholarships, they don't want to take risk on what aren't finished products in their mind. So it's really hard. So you're right. There's some great kids. Look, Peyton Hueslick was our quarterback on the national championship team, and he was a 4.0 student, state champion, and really didn't get a lot of love out of high school because he just didn't fit that mold perfectly. He came to us, and 6 months later, he's a Division I quarterback.
Yeah. One of the things, though, I've learned in this business is that a lot of times coaches, unless you're a coach like you, that, you believe in your ability to recruit and evaluate, and there are people that you're going to rely on and trust. A lot of coaches rather take a kid off a list than really trust their evaluation. And that, you saw what you guys did at Indiana. I mean, I remember talking to one of your coaches when you guys got there. I mean, it was a tough situation. You guys had to turn around a program that not only was losing, those kids didn't know how to win that were there, and now you had to flip the roster over. So, you guys found kids at Indiana when you were there. What were some of the things that you looked at that made those guys fit what you were trying to do, that you guys were successful, where other guys aren't willing to take those chances?
Well, a couple things. First off, I agree with you. There are coaches that are going to take guys off lists. And now, why do they do that? Here's why they do it. First off, everybody kind of has their niche in coaching, and there's coaches that they got into coaching because they like the scheme of it, the competition of it, the game day stuff. They like to call the great play, and so they spend. You are what you can do in your 24 hours. So they like to spend time drawing plays, talking about hand placement, and how they can get leverage on a play, and how they can design a play so that they can call this great play to win. And that's a lot of coaches, and they like to do that. And it's their offense, their defense. Personally, I didn't get in coaching for that because, I got into coaching because some coaches did a great job and helped me. I grew up in a single parent household. I didn't think I was going to graduate from college. I had coaches that really poured into me and did a great job. So I liked being around the team and the guys. And so that's what I did. Well, you talked about junior college. I was shocked when I went from Fort Scott to Indiana. When we got there, I was really excited to coach Big Ten football. And there wasn't a guy on the starting defense at Indiana that could play on our Fort Scott defense. And that's where people don't understand how talented junior college football is. You don't have an admissions requirement. You don't bring in 85 guys. You can bring in 200 guys, and it's straight compete. So the football is really, really good. Now at Indiana, you have to meet requirements. You have to do those things. So we got there and there wasn't a whole lot of talent. Now, why were we able to find good talent? I believe there was two reasons. I believe that we had good evaluators on our staff. We had guys that would spend the time and flip rocks, and they would find the guys that met what it took to play in the Big Ten. Our head coach, Kevin Wilson, was Ohio State. He would get upset when we're watching film and we're showing guys that were a waste of his time. These guys can't win in the Big Ten. They're good football players, but it's a whole different game if you're wanting to beat Ohio State, okay? It's a whole different game if you want to play SEC or play against Oklahoma in the Big 12. So we found the right people who had the right skills and body type. And then something that I'm worried about in football is that Kevin Wilson and the Ohio States of the world do, is that when they got there, we demanded them to play at the level that the ability they had. We developed them in the weight room. We developed them on the football field. And Coach Wilson used to always say this, is that everybody thinks college football is Herb Street on Saturday morning. They think it's college game day and crowds and everybody cheering. Look, man, that's 11 days a year. College football is weight rooms and sprints and sweating and hours of meetings. And, where I really respect our college athletes, it's not how they play. It's what it takes to play, what it takes to be an Alabama football player, what it takes to be an Ohio State football player. and it's a commitment, and those guys bust their tail, and I think that's why we're successful. I think we value the evaluation process, and that we developed got students when they got there.
Yeah, I think that's one major mistake fans in general think is like, hey, games are won and lost on Saturday. I've never agreed with that. It's what you do in the off season and Monday through Thursday. Friday you do your walkthroughs and everything. But if you're not successful in the off season, I don't care how good you think your team is, they're not going to win on Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And what you just said, I learned that from Bill Fisk, who was a Hall of Fame coach in California. He used to tell you, he go, I'm not a very good scheme guy and this and that. We're going to outlift and run you for 9 months. And then, you can try to beat me in 6 days. I'm going to beat you in 9 months. Yes, the off season has everything to do with it. Evaluation, development, and getting your guys and creating a culture. I think that's what it totally is.
You've coached under a couple great coaches in Coach Wilson, who came, had a lot of success at Oklahoma before he went to Indiana. You also coached with Carl Pelini. I remember when you guys got to FAU, I knew the coaching staff before you guys got there, and there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, what you guys did at FAU, and you didn't have a lot of ties to Florida in your coaching staff. A lot of you guys were, I believe, like Northern coaches, and people said, oh, you guys can't win there. How much of an impact did those two coaches have, not only on you, but what you've done with yourself as a college coach moving forward?
Fish, I'd tell you that the coaches I coached for, played for and coached for, developed everything. I played for Carl Bowser, who's a Hall of Fame junior college coach. Coaching for Coach Wilson. He's one of the best offensive coordinators in the country at Ohio State. And, I've been very fortunate. I would tell you, and McKinley coached with me, almost everything we've done, if you say, Coach, why do you do that? I can kind of correlate it to somebody that I coached with. Now, when you talk about Florida Atlantic, we did get a rap that when we came down there that we were Northern guys. But I would tell you that everybody treated us great in Florida. There's a lot of talent down there. I actually think that the Florida jobs are some of the best in the country, because of the talent down there. Now, where I don't agree with some people in Florida is that the people in the Florida Atlantic area, they want you to recruit the Broward counties and the West Palm Beach. Well, those young people want to go away to school. They want to spread their wings and stuff like that. I thought our best recruiting when I was there was Florida, but I thought it was the Panhandle and Jacksonville. And because for those Florida kids, it was fun to come down and go away and their families to come visit. We enjoyed the South Florida kids that we got, but those kids, they also wanted to spread their wings and see a new place, a new adventure and stuff. And I would tell you that people treated me as good as anywhere I've ever worked when I was in Florida, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, Coach, we had Coach Beam on our last episode, and he's talking about how in 2018, I told him, hey, we played for the national championship game, and he said that they were considered the number one team or whatever the case may be. Tell us, as far as in your opinion, the difference between Kansas, because I tried to tell him, I said the level of talent that I saw in the Jayhawk Conference and what I saw on Last Chance U this past season is a stark difference. What would you say to that?
Okay, so now what school is Coach Beam at?
He's at Laney College.
Yeah, okay. I got to be honest with you. I haven't watched Last Chance U this year, so I didn't necessarily know that. Okay, but here's the deal. All right, I've coached in California junior colleges, and I coached in the NJCAA. Okay, and I would tell you that when I was at Mount Sac, which is a California junior college that plays for state championships in California and stuff like that, I think the best system for kids is in California, because they can live at home, they can drive there. I don't think they should have any out-of-state players. I don't think they should. I think it's wrong of them to even recruit them. All right. I think the best structure, okay, is in the Kansas ones and in the Texas ones, because we're real college campuses. Those are commuter colleges. Those kids don't live there and things like that. With all due respect to Coach Beam, which I have a lot of respect for anybody who does junior college football and what they would do. In my experience, I would tell you that I think that an East Mississippi or a Garden City would beat a California junior college champion. But these are the reasons why. I actually think the California teams might have more talent, okay? It's because I don't know that he totally understands, because I didn't totally understand. When me and you at Garden City played East Mississippi showed up on 7 luxury buses, sleeper buses. Their coaches are get paid $100,000 and have houses on their campus. We have dorms. When I was at Mount Sac, I coached some incredible football players, and they'd go home and I wouldn't know where they were. At Garden City, we had those guys 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Now, transitioning from junior college to Division II, Coach, how has that transition been for you? And as far as, going from the junior college level to the Division II level as a head coach?
Well, I've been fortunate. I've coached in junior college. I've coached in, junior college in different states. I've coached Division II. I've coached Division I. The only level I haven't coached at is FCS. And so I would tell you that every level is different. Okay, they're more different than they are similar. The transition's been good. I love every level for what it is. We have different challenges here, and we're working through those challenges. I do believe we're moving in a tremendous direction, but it's a total different animal than coaching, in junior college, or even coaching in Florida. Florida Atlantic's Division I and Indiana's Division I, and they are not similar. Okay, I would tell you Florida Atlantic's more similar to Missouri Southern than Florida Atlantic is similar to Indiana. Indiana being a Power 5 is way different than being a Florida Atlantic. We're probably more similar to Florida Atlantic, in my opinion. Junior college-wise, the talent at some of the best junior colleges is more similar to what's at Indiana. Because of I've had first-round draft picks and second-round draft picks out of junior colleges. There hasn't been a Division II first round or second round draft pick in years. Usually the highest they go is the third round. So there is some freakish talent at the junior college level, and there's freakish talent at the Big Ten level. When you get to the Florida Atlantics and to us, I think there's really good talent, but they're kids that develop themselves and work hard in the weight room and become great players, more than it's just God gave them some great talent.
And as far as you working through the pandemic, I saw that there was an announcement made that you guys the season was, I guess, postponed until the spring. How have you been working through that? Well, I know you're working, but I mean,
I'm in the office now, and last night I actually finished our new calendar. Like, I like to plan everything out. So last night, I finished our new calendar for how we plan to. We are scheduled now from now until January 2022, and we have a plan on recruiting and what we do every single day. And so now we're going to approach it a little different in the past. And this pandemic is tough, but I will tell you this, that as a football program, we're going to be better coming out of it than we are. We're going to use this time wisely, and it's going to improve us.
10-4.
Coach, one last thing for me is, I'm looking at that jersey behind you, Jason Pierre-Paul. When we were talking about evaluations, I remember when he came out of high school. He was 6'5", maybe 190, 200 pounds. I had 2 Power 5 coaches tell me, I said, listen, this kid's going to be a first-round pick one day. And they both laughed. And I said, you got to understand, I saw this kid running seam routes and beating defensive guys like it was nothing, one-handed catching the ball. But he was a Haitian kid, didn't have the training that guys needed at the college level. And then he comes out of college, junior college, and he's now 290, 285. And also like Levante David was another guy you coached. This was a guy on a Northwestern team that was a nationally rated Northwestern team. He was probably like the 15th rated player on that team. What happened with those 2 guys that so many people missed on them?
Well, 2 things. Okay, first off, and I don't know how much time we have because these are great stories, but Jason is exactly what you said. He wasn't good enough coming out of high school. He was an in-between guy. What position is he going to play? He's really lean. So they can't and won't take the chance on those types of guys. When we got Jason, he was able to eat. Jason, and I try to say this anytime anybody asks me. Jason's made the news because he got injured. He hurt his neck and he's hurt his hand. But Jason's an incredible dude. He's a great dude. He's really hard not to like. Jason did everything we asked him to do. We never had an issue with him. And all Jason needed was the structure. He's Haitian. His family isn't really a football family. So he's got all sisters. He didn't grow up with a football mindset. So when he finally got to us, we were able to say, all right, you're going to school these hours. You're going to study hall these hours. You're going to lift. You're going to eat and do those things. And honestly, once we laid the path down, he walked the path. It was really, really simple. He sat in my office one time, and I promise you that I said to him, I go, Jason, if you listen to me, you're going to go to the NFL. Now, I wanted to say that wasn't because I was some genius. It was because it was obvious if he would just do what he needed to do, he was so blessed. And so he leaned back in the chair and looked at me. He goes, how you know that, coach? And I said, Jason, just trust me. And he did. And that's the difference between some kids and others. Jason is not the most talented kid I've ever seen. He's the most talented kid that I've ever seen who followed the path to do what you're supposed to do. Look, never had an issue with Jason smoking weed, never had an issue with the missing practice, never had an issue with the missing class. If you asked Jason to do stuff and gave him a path, he'd follow it. And God blessed him. He's a freak of nature. It's interesting. There's a book called Outliers. It talks about how your environment can create you. Well, Jason can do 23 backflips in a row. Well, why can Jason do 23 backflips in a row? Because he didn't grow too fast that he ever was awkward. And he grew up with sisters, and they didn't have video games, and they didn't watch TV in the house all day. They played outside, and they did handsprings and cartwheels, and then he grew into this huge human who never lifted weights. And then when he ended up making drafted, Sports Science said that when he does a backflip, it's the equivalent of pressing 800 pounds over your head. All right. So those things developed him, and God blessed him. And he is a guy who will do what's asked. He plays hard. He does what he's structured to do. Now, Levante is a total different story. Levante is an overlooked guy. Levante, if he was in the grocery store, you wouldn't know that he was one of the greatest football players to ever play. And he's just a regular looking dude, but he is a football genius. He can see things. I've never met someone who loves the game of football more. If your audience hears anything that I'd say, I've had over 50 guys play in the NFL. It's really not anything because of what I did. We structured and they followed the structure, the common denominator between all those guys is they loved football. They oozed it. If you seen Levante David in the mall and you pulled a football out, he'd tackle you. The dude loves football all the time, every day. It's what he does all day long. He doesn't party. He never gets sick of it. And that makes him special. Now, a quick story I'll give you on him was he played for me at the end. He had one dream, and it was play for the University of Miami. Okay. He was an All-American for us. And I called the University of Miami and I said, listen, you don't have to recruit this guy. All you got to do is offer him a scholarship. He'll come and play. They had taken 7 of his teammates. All right. They asked me one question. They said, what does he weigh? I said, Coach, you want me to say 215? He weighs 208. And they go, we just don't think he's big enough. I said, Coach, they go, I don't think he's big enough. And so he was going to go to South Florida. His girlfriend was attending South Florida. And the University of Nebraska wanted our left tackle, Jamarcus Hardrick. And I told him, I said, man, you need to go on our linebacker too. And they're like, well, we don't know. I said, listen, you want the left tackle? And they're like, yeah. I go, the only way the left tackle goes if his Levante goes, or he's going to go to LSU. So if you offer them both, you might get them both. Well, they took Levante in and had a chalk talk with him. Mike Eckler, linebacker coach, walked out and told Bo Pelini, he goes, Coach, this guy could play for us tomorrow. He knows our entire defense. I said, guys, I told you, he's a football savant. He picks everything up. He loves it. He's passionate about it. He doesn't go out because he's afraid it's going to mess up his football. He doesn't party because he thinks it's going to mess up his football. He wasn't wild with girls. He's got a girlfriend who's now his wife. And I'll tell you this, he has 2 incredible parents, and they were hard workers and good people. And I'm just telling you, Levante does everything right. Whatever you write down for a football player to do, he does it. There's no variation. And that's how you become incredibly great. You know, you can be good and smoke dope. You can be good and skip some workouts. You can be good, but you'll never be great. And the great ones are mercenaries. They eliminate all the nonsense and they focus on their true goals. There's difference between people who want to be great in football and people who think being a football player is a lottery ticket. If I can make it to the league. Look, Jason and Levante are not lucky that they made it to the league. They were born to play in the NFL. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, great stories there, Coach, man. That was great to hear.
That's good stuff. Coach, how does someone follow you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
I think it's Coach J. Sims. I'm supposed to know that, huh? Let me look. I got it on my phone. Let me see.
We're going to try to steal all those Twitter followers. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably got more than me, but it's Coach J. Sims, S-I-M-S.
Gotcha.
I saw you laughing, Fish. I'm sure you're getting texts making fun of me somehow. So
no. These are great stories and everything, and you know, I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy. You know that, man. So.
Well, I will tell you, for some reason, I'm a love-hate guy. Like, people either really, really like me or really, really don't. And I really don't mean it to be that way. I just try to be honest about the situation. We want to help players, and we don't have, you know, I just think people need to be honest. Like, if I want to be a great football player, then I need to be in the weight room. I need to run. I need to practice. I need to go to class. I need to do those things. And if you don't want to do those things, that's fine. But all I want you to do is go find your passion. Football should be like Christmas morning. You should want to do it. It should be like recess, that you want to run out to it. You know, I mean, that's just – there's a lot of people who think they want to be football players. But when you talk about the Tevin Colemans of the world, the Jason Pierre-Pauls, the Lonnie Johnsons, the Mike Hugheses, the Levante Davids, those guys ooze football. And they may not have to get the rest of their life in order, but when it comes to lifting and running and practicing. They love it. It's what they want to do. And that's what I really enjoy about coaching, is finding those guys that want to really chase their dreams and want to really work hard at it.
So we really appreciate you coming on tonight, Coach, and we look forward to speaking to you again.